Have you ever noticed that some of the wealthiest men on earth still get cheated on, or rejected, or completely ghosted? Meanwhile, there are guys with way less money, less status who somehow attract the most incredible women without even trying. Strange, right? It makes you question everything we've been taught about success, love, and what women really want. We're told, get rich, and the rest will follow. But let me challenge that idea. What if money is only one tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle? In today's video, I'm going to reveal 6 things women secretly value more than money. Yes, more than the car you drive or the number in your bank account. And to guide us, we'll be using the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, warrior philosopher, and a Stoic legend whose insights still shake the modern world. So before we dive in, I encourage you to stick around until the very end. What you're about to hear isn't just theory. It could reshape how you see love, attraction, and even yourself. Now picture this. The year is 175 AD. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the Roman Empire, one of the most powerful men alive, is sitting quietly writing in a journal. Not giving speeches, not issuing commands, just writing. But he's not writing for attention. He's writing to clear his own thoughts, to stay grounded in truth, to fight his inner chaos. Despite commanding armies and sitting on untold riches, Marcus didn't obsess over gold, control, or luxury. Why? Because he understood something most men still miss to this day. What truly inspires loyalty, love, and admiration, especially from women, isn't material. It's internal. And those internal traits? They're worth more than any Rolex or private jet. They're what make you unforgettable, not your income, not your title. So let's break down the first of these 6 traits, and this one, it's huge. Emotional control. Think back for a second. When was the last time you genuinely fell for someone? Not just a fling, but deep, soul-level connection? Maybe it was how she laughed at your worst jokes, or the way her eyes locked onto yours like no one else mattered. Maybe it was something simple, holding hands during a sunset walk, or just lying on the couch, her head on your chest. No words, just presence. And yet, somewhere along the line, it fell apart. Have you ever asked yourself, what really happened? Was it something you said? Something she did? Or was it your reaction when things didn't go your way? Here's the truth. Most love stories don't fall apart because the love runs out. They collapse because emotions take over: anger, jealousy, insecurity, fear. Now let's take a closer look at how emotional control, when practiced with true Stoic discipline, can change everything. Remember that first page where we explored the power of emotional control? Now let's go deeper, because this is where most men stumble, and where Stoic strength is truly tested. At first, everything felt magical. But then something shifted. Suddenly, you're no longer talking with her. You're talking at her. Your voice gets louder. Words come out before you even think. You say things you don't mean, things you regret the moment they leave your lips. And just like that, something in her changes. The softness in her eyes, the way she used to look at you like you were her safe place, it disappears. Now she's on edge. Not because she stopped caring, but because something sacred, the emotional safety, was shaken. And in that moment, she's silently wondering, is this still the man I fell for? This is exactly where the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius becomes more than just philosophy. It becomes survival. He wasn't just some old thinker sitting in a library. He was an emperor, a commander of legions, a man who faced death, betrayal, and the weight of an entire empire on his shoulders every single day. And yet, in the pages of Meditations, He kept returning to one powerful truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Let that sink in. You can't control what she says. You can't control if she stays or leaves. You can't control her past, her fears, her mood swings. But you can control how you respond. When you master your emotions, you become the eye of the storm. Still, unshaken, focused. And that kind of presence, that quiet strength, that's unforgettable. That's what women remember, even after everything else fades. So take a breath and think back. Was there a time when your anger pushed her away? A moment where a single outburst changed everything. Words you wish you could take back, but they still echo in your mind? You're not alone. Every man has been there. But here's the beauty, you get another chance. Maybe not with her, but with someone new, or more importantly, with yourself. See, emotional control isn't about pretending to feel nothing. It's not about being a robot or bottling things up. It's about mastery. It's about feeling everything, but choosing your response. It's about standing strong when she tests your patience, because yes, she will. It's about staying rooted when life tries to knock you off your center. And here's the secret. Women feel this. They feel your calm when the world around you is chaos. They feel your depth when you speak less and listen more. They feel safe, not because you're loud, but because you're steady. In a world overflowing with emotionally reactive men, the man who stays grounded, that man becomes rare. He becomes respected. He becomes trusted. So the next time she pulls away, the next time she says something that hits your ego, the next time your pride wants to roar, ask yourself, will I react, or will I respond like a stoic? Because the man who truly captures her heart is the one who can hold his own in the face of fire. And if you're still watching right now, that tells me something. You already know this truth deep down. You're not here by accident. You're here because your story, your transformation, it's still unfolding. And the next chapter? It starts right here with emotional control. But that's just the beginning. Because behind her smile, behind those magical moments you can't forget, was something deeper. And when it changed, everything changed. Let's explore that shift together in the next part. We just talked about emotional control, the kind of strength that earns her trust. But sometimes, even when you hold it all together, something still changes. She grows distant. Her texts get shorter. Her time feels thinner. You ask if something's wrong, and all she can say is, I don't know, it's not you. I just feel like something's missing. And you're left there, puzzled, hurt, trying to understand what just happened. You gave her your time, your attention. You even helped when she needed money. You tried your best. So why did it still fall apart? Here's the hard truth: most men aren't told. Love doesn't thrive in comfort. It breathes in motion. Women don't fall for a man simply because he's kind or generous. They fall for a man who's on a mission, a man whose life has gravity, purpose, direction. So let me ask you this right now. If someone walked up and said, "What's your purpose?" what would you say? Would you reply, "I want to be rich"? Would you say, "I'm trying to be successful"? Or would you say something deeper? "I'm building something meaningful, something bigger than myself"? Because when a man is locked into his path, focused, building, becoming, he carries a different kind of energy. He doesn't even have to say it out loud. You can feel it in how he walks, talks, and even sits in silence. Women are drawn to that, not because he ignores them, but because his presence has direction. He's going somewhere. Even Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, didn't waste his life basking in luxury. He didn't sit on gold-lined chairs sipping wine in eternal comfort. He lived with intensity. He journaled by candlelight. And every day he reminded himself, do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It is not your job to direct the universe, but to direct your own steps. Purpose isn't about being constantly busy. It's about moving with intention, living with meaning, knowing why you're doing what you're doing. Let me paint a story. Maybe it's yours, or maybe it's the story of every man at some point in his life. There was a man loving, caring. He made her laugh. He cooked for her. They stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. But as time passed, she started asking different questions. What do you want out of life? Where are you going? He'd smile, maybe shrug. Say something like, I'm still figuring it out. She waited. She supported. But slowly, quietly, her heart began to drift, not because he was a bad man, but because he had no map, no direction, no fire. And one day, she left. Not because she stopped loving him, but because he didn't love something bigger than her. You see, women want to feel your purpose. They want to walk beside a man who's going somewhere, even if they don't know exactly where that road will lead. So now I'll ask you again, and this time, ask yourself honestly, what are you building? What gets you out of bed when no one's watching? What would you suffer for willingly, proudly, because it matters that much? When you find that purpose, when your life moves with meaning, everything changes. And speaking of change, there's another force at play. One that isn't loud, but incredibly powerful. The strength of your silence. Let's uncover that next. So we just talked about purpose. How living for something greater than comfort transforms you from the inside out. When you're no longer chasing weekends, pleasure, or validation, but chasing a mission. Women can feel that shift. They respect it. They admire it. And more than that, they desire it. So here's the truth. Stop chasing her. Start chasing your mission. Because when you're deeply aligned with your purpose, the right woman won't drift away. She'll be drawn to you. She won't retreat. She'll lean in. Now let's talk about something just as powerful, something that holds your mission together when things get tough. Self-discipline. Have you ever looked in the mirror after a breakup and wondered, was it me? You replay every moment, every unanswered text, every silence after a fight, every time she looked at you, not with love, but like she was searching for the man she used to know. You loved her. You would have done anything for her. You thought love alone would be enough. But here's the painful truth. Love without discipline is like a car without gas. It looks nice, but it's not going anywhere. Let me tell you a story. Maybe it sounds familiar. There was a time you were on fire. You were hungry. You worked out. You had a vision. You were becoming the man she first fell for. You had momentum, drive, passion. But then, comfort crept in. You stopped waking up early. You skipped the gym. You told yourself, it's fine, she loves me. That's enough. But something shifted in her eyes. Not because she stopped loving you, but because you started losing yourself. You see, women don't just fall for who you are, they fall for what you stand for. And nothing commands more respect than self-discipline. Even Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, understood this deeply. He said, just do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. He wasn't chasing applause or praise. He cared about showing up, every single day. For himself, that's what discipline is about. Not perfection, but consistency. Doing the hard things, especially when no one's watching. Waking up at 5 a.m. when your body begs for sleep. Turning off Netflix to work on your goals. Saying no to short-term pleasure in service of your long-term purpose. So let me ask you, what would she think now if she saw you living with discipline again? If she saw you focused, grounded, on fire again, chasing your highest potential? Would her eyes light up with pride? Would she smile, realizing that the man she once believed in never really disappeared? Here's the secret. Self-discipline isn't just attractive. It's magnetic. It tells the world and her that you respect yourself. And when a man respects himself, the world naturally responds. People follow his lead. And women? They feel his presence. Because when you stop chasing dopamine and start chasing excellence, everything changes. Your energy, your presence, your entire reality starts to shift. Now, let's go even deeper, because there's another trait that Stoic men master. One that makes your presence unforgettable in any room. Let's talk about calm confidence. Next. After talking about self-discipline, one thing becomes clear. When you rebuild yourself, your energy shifts. It shows in your body. It shows in how you speak. And more than anything, it shows in your eyes. Not the eyes of a man chasing validation, but the eyes of a man who's grounded, steady, living with purpose and control. And maybe, just maybe, she noticed that shift. Maybe she'll look at you and think, he's different now. He's back. But here's the truth. Whether she comes back or not doesn't matter, because you're not doing it for her anymore. You're doing it for you. You're becoming the man who rises early, who keeps his word, who moves with quiet pride, even when no one's watching. That's the man she remembers. That's the man the world quietly longs for. So instead of asking, does she still love me? Ask yourself something much more important. Do I love the man I've become? Because when you can say yes to that, everything else begins to fall into place. Now let's talk about another powerful trait. Stoic confidence. Not loud, not arrogant, but rooted, present, undeniable. Have you ever been with her, but not really with her? Physically in the room, yes, sitting beside her. Phone in hand, but your mind? 1,000 miles away. Maybe you were thinking about work, money, stress. Or worse, maybe you were scrolling through Instagram, half listening, silently hoping she wouldn't notice how far away your attention had drifted. Now think back to the beginning, when every word she said made you lean in just a little closer. When your eyes locked with hers like nothing else in the world mattered. She felt that presence, that intensity, that sacred attention. It whispered, I see you. You matter to me. But over time, that presence began to fade. Not because you stopped loving her, but because life pulled you away. Bit by bit, moment by moment. Until one day, she pulled away too. Not because she stopped caring, but because she stopped feeling you. Presence isn't about being in the room. It's about being alive in the moment. It's what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, confine yourself to the present. So simple, yet so difficult, because your thoughts race. You get pulled into tomorrow's worries, or yesterday's regrets. And in doing so, you miss the only place love actually lives. Right now, let me tell you a story. There was a man madly in love. He said, I love you, every morning. He brought flowers, took her to dinner. But something was missing, because while she was talking, he was checking his phone. While she was opening her heart, he was half listening, nodding on autopilot. He thought he was doing enough. Until one night, she looked at him and said, "Where did you go? You're right here. But I can't feel you anymore." And that shattered him. Because in that one sentence he realized she didn't want more gifts. She didn't need more words. She needed more of him. His focus, his attention, his soul. And maybe this hits close to home. Maybe the woman you loved once said something similar, or maybe she never said it out loud, but you felt the distance grow. Now here's the question. Can you bring yourself back, not just to her, but to the moment? Because in the next part, we're going to explore exactly why presence is one of the rarest, most powerful gifts a man can give. Let's go there now. In the last section, we talked about presence, how the greatest gift you can give a woman is your undivided attention. But here's what many men forget. When your mind drifts, when your phone steals your eyes, when your thoughts pull you away, she feels it, even if you don't say a word. Not because you don't care, but because you forgot that love only breathes in the now. Real presence isn't just about being in the same room. It's when you look her in the eyes and everything else fades away. When your phone is face down, when your mind is quiet, when your whole energy says, "I'm here, with you, right now." It's not just hearing her voice, it's feeling her words. Listening not just with your ears, but with your heart. That's when she feels your stillness, your focus, your energy. And here's a truth most men overlook. Presence is rare. In a world drowning in noise, distraction, and constant scrolling, a man who can sit still, lock eyes, and truly be there in the moment, that's the man she never forgets. So let me ask you, when was the last time you gave a woman your full, undivided presence? No notifications, no to-do lists, no split attention. Just you, open, grounded, real. If that question stings a little, good, because awareness is power. And from this moment on, you have the chance to shift everything. Choose to be present, not just with her, but with yourself, with your breath, with your surroundings, with the quiet, beautiful moments that pass you by when you're not paying attention. Because when you return to presence, you don't just reconnect with her, you reclaim yourself. Now, let's take it one level deeper. Let's talk about integrity, the kind that shows up when the noise disappears. When she left, or when things started falling apart, how did it feel? When you were finally alone? And I don't mean being in a crowded room while feeling lonely. I mean that raw, echoing silence. When her texts stopped lighting up your phone. When the scent of her perfume slowly faded from your hoodie. When you lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she's already moved on. Did that silence break you? Or did it wake you up? Most men fear solitude. We chase connection. We avoid the stillness. We grasp for attention, not because we're weak, but because we never learned how to be whole on our own. But think back. Remember who you were before you met her. You had your own rhythm. You had your space, your energy, your drive. You weren't chasing. You weren't performing. You were just being you, and that's what drew her in. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. You started molding yourself around her. Your identity slowly wrapped around her presence. And when she pulled away, it felt like she took a piece of you with her. But this is exactly where Stoic wisdom shines. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Let that settle. He wasn't talking about running away from the world. He was showing us that solitude isn't something to fear, it's something to master. Because when you learn to sit with yourself, to find peace in your own breath, your own silence, your own soul, you stop needing women, and you start attracting them. Why? Because real confidence? It isn't loud. It doesn't beg for attention. It's quiet, rooted, whole. It's the man who can sit in silence, alone, not because he's lonely, but because he's finally home within himself. Now in the next part, we'll explore exactly how this quiet confidence builds the kind of attraction that doesn't just impress, it endures. Previously, we explored the power of being at peace with yourself, that quiet confidence that radiates from a man who no longer needs others to feel whole. Because when you're complete, you're no longer chasing. You're no longer begging. You're simply being, and that's magnetic. Let me share a story. There was a man who went through heartbreak. It wasn't just pain, it shattered him. He spiraled. He looked for rebounds. He begged, cried, drank too much, anything to escape the ache gnawing at his chest. He ran from the silence. Until one day, he stopped. No more distractions. No more chasing temporary highs. He sat in the quiet, alone. And yes, it hurt, deeply. But he stayed, and in that stillness, something unexpected began to happen. He started hearing his own voice again. Not the voice of panic or heartbreak, but the voice underneath, the one he forgot existed. He picked up his old passions. He started journaling again, lifting weights, walking for miles with no music, just thoughts. He started showing up for himself, day after day. And then one morning, he looked in the mirror, and he saw a man again, not a fragment, not a half, but a grounded, whole, unshakable man. That is what women silently long for. A man who doesn't chase approval. A man who's not afraid of the quiet. A man who knows he is enough, whether someone is beside him or not. So now I'll ask you, can you sit in silence and still feel strong? Can you be alone on a Friday night, not because you're numb, but because you're complete? Because if you can learn that, if you can master solitude, you'll never beg for love again. Love will be drawn to you, because you don't need it to feel alive. You're already living. Remember, solitude is not a prison, it's a temple. It's the place where your power is rebuilt, piece by piece. And once you reclaim that power, you walk differently. You love differently. You lead differently. Now, let's return to something even deeper. The kind of presence that makes a woman feel safe in your arms. Safe in your energy. Do you remember the first time you saw her cry? Maybe it was something small. A bad day at work, a memory from her past. Maybe you didn't even understand it all, but you didn't need to. You simply held her. You didn't fix it. You didn't analyze it. You were just there, calm, steady, still, and she melted into you. Not because the pain was gone, but because she felt safe in your presence. But now let me ask you, did she feel that same safety when you were angry? When you were anxious? When you snapped, shut down, raised your voice, or lashed out? Did she still feel protected? Or did your emotional storm start to drown her? Here's something most men never learn. Women don't fall in love with chaos. They fall in love with calm. Not the fake kind of calm, the silent treatment, the cold shoulder, the bottled up pressure that eventually explodes. I'm talking about true calm, emotional control. Marcus Aurelius said it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That right there, That is the core of true masculine energy. Now, let me share one last story in this section, one that might sound familiar. Let's walk into that next dot in the last part. We explored the true meaning of emotional control, the strength to remain calm even when storms rise inside you. Now let's close this out with a story that brings it all home. There was a man deeply in love. Their relationship had highs and lows, good days, tough days, like any real love story. But one night, she said something. It wasn't cruel, it wasn't meant to hurt, but it struck a nerve. Instead of taking a breath, he snapped, he raised his voice, he slammed the door. Maybe he even walked out of the room. And in that moment, when he looked back, he didn't see fear in her eyes. He saw something far worse. Disappointment. Not because he got angry, but because the man she leaned on wasn't there anymore. And in the heavy silence that followed, something hit him hard. She never needed him to be perfect. She needed him to be anchored. This is where so many men go wrong. Emotional control isn't about shutting off your feelings. It's about feeling deeply and still choosing how you respond. It's the difference between saying, "I'm upset. Let's talk when I'm calm," and snapping, "Whatever. Do what you want. I don't care." One shows strength. The other reveals weakness dressed up in ego. Because here's the truth, women don't need you to be emotionless. They need you to be steady, to contain the storm without capsizing the ship. So let me ask you honestly, how do you handle anger? How do you move through heartbreak, frustration, rejection? Do you control your emotions, or do they control you? Because a woman will trust her heart, her soul with the man who has mastered his own, the man who can sit in discomfort and still choose peace. The man who doesn't let impulse dictate his actions. That's the man she respects. That's the man she stays for. So today, don't just aim to be the strongest man in the room. Be the calmest, the most grounded, the one who doesn't flinch when life shakes. Because emotional control isn't just a Stoic teaching. It's the hidden door to unshakable love and true masculine power. Let me end with a simple story. Two men walk into a restaurant. One is wearing a $10,000 watch, a sharp tailored suit. He tosses the keys to his Ferrari on the table. He orders the most expensive wine. He brags about his business and can't stop checking his phone. The other man? Simple clothes, no flash, no loud talk. But when he speaks, people listen. He looks the waiter in the eyes, uses her name, smiles with genuine warmth. And when he listens, it's like the world slows down. By the end of the night, which man do you think the woman at the next table remembers? Exactly, because women may notice the car, but they remember the presence. They remember how you made them feel safe, seen, valued, respected. Money might impress, but it's presence, integrity, and emotional mastery that leave a mark. So here's the truth, my friend. Money might catch her attention, but it's you, your presence, your mindset, your calm that makes her stay. Marcus Aurelius never chased applause. He chased virtue, and in doing so, he became unforgettable. So don't ask, what do women want? Ask instead, what kind of man am I becoming? Because when you build from within, love doesn't become something you chase. It becomes something you naturally attract. And with that, thank you for watching. And remember, your power, your peace, your purpose, it all begins within.